The world is obsessed with the visible, what you drive, what you wear, what you post. But the real flex isn't what you can show off, it's what you quietly refuse. Anyone can spend money, anyone can perform success for a crowd, curate a moment, or look elevated for a night. But very few people have high standards. Because high standards demand something most people avoid: radical self honesty. High standards mean you stop negotiating with the parts of your life that quietly lower you. The environments you linger in, the conversations you tolerate, the habits you justify, the relationships you maintain out of nostalgia, the expectations you accept simply because they are familiar. All of these shape your reality, not in grand gestures, but in the subtle daily agreements you make with yourself. People talk about frequency as if it's mystical, abstract, invisible. But frequency is practical. It's the emotional baseline you inhabit every day, the level of peace your nervous system recognizes as normal, the quality you accept without argument. Your standards set your frequency, not affirmations, not aesthetics, not appearances. Standards. If you tolerate chaos, you live in chaos. If you tolerate disrespect, you normalize disrespect. If you tolerate mediocrity, you unconsciously build a mediocre life, even while dreaming of excellence. Remember, you don't attract what you wish for, you attract what you refuse to tolerate. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to raise their lifestyle before raising their standards. They chase luxury without becoming selective. They want elevated outcomes while maintaining low thresholds for what they allow. But elevation is always subtraction before addition. Before the better life arrives, the misaligned pieces must leave. High standards are not loud. They are precise. They show up in small decisions no one applauds: leaving early instead of overstaying, choosing silence instead of argument, walking away from opportunities that compromise your peace, declining situations that look good but feel wrong. That is frequency. And frequency is felt long before it is seen. You can enter a room and immediately sense who respects themselves, not by their clothes, not by their status, but by their presence. They move deliberately. They speak intentionally. They do not rush to impress, because they are not trying to be chosen. They already chose themselves. High standards change how you experience everything. Food tastes different when you stop accepting convenience over quality. Conversations feel different when depth replaces performance. Time feels different when it is protected instead of spent impulsively. Life slows down, not because you have less, but because you tolerate less noise. You begin to savor your mornings, to notice the luxury in a quiet afternoon, to feel the richness in a conversation that feeds your spirit rather than drains your energy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Raising your standards will cost you access to certain people. Not because you became arrogant, but because clarity disrupts familiarity. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that required less accountability, less growth, less evolution. When you change your standards, you change the rules of engagement. And not everyone wants to play at that level. That's not judgment, that's alignment. Your boundaries are the price of admission to your peace. High standards are not about believing you are better than others. They are about refusing to abandon yourself. You stop laughing at disrespect to keep things comfortable. You stop shrinking to maintain connection. You stop explaining boundaries that should be obvious. You become calm where you once overextended. And that calmness unsettles people who benefited from your lack of limits. But elevation is not consensus, it is decision. The real flex is walking away without drama. The real flex is emotional discipline. The real flex is choosing long-term alignment over short-term validation. Anyone can react. Few people can remain sovereign. High standards also apply to yourself. This is where the work becomes real. You begin to notice your own excuses, your own procrastination, your own habits that contradict the life you claim to want. You stop outsourcing responsibility. You become reliable to yourself. I honor my standards even when no one is watching. You rest intentionally instead of escaping. You work with purpose instead of urgency. You invest in growth even when no one is watching. Because high frequency is consistency, not intensity. It is what you do repeatedly when motivation fades. The person operating at a higher frequency isn't perfect. They are aligned. They apologize less for existing. They hesitate less when choosing themselves. They recover faster from distractions because their standards pull them back into alignment. Standards create gravity. They hold your life together. And eventually, something powerful happens. You stop chasing luxury, and luxury begins matching you. Opportunities become clearer. Connections become more intentional. Experiences become richer. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you stopped accepting less. High standards refine your reality. You notice beauty more. You value time more. You speak less but mean more. You become harder to impress and easier to satisfy. That is maturity. That is wealth. That is frequency. And here's what nobody says enough. High standards are an act of self-love. Not the soft, performative version. The disciplined version. The version that protects your future self. The version that says, I will not sabotage tomorrow for temporary comfort today. Every elevated life is built on invisible decisions. The extra moment of restraint. The refusal to entertain chaos. The courage to disappoint others instead of disappointing yourself. You don't need to announce your standards. People feel them. They feel it in what you tolerate. They feel it in what you decline. They feel it in the calm certainty you carry. And over time, your environment reorganizes around your expectations. Because life meets you where your standards live, not where your wishes exist. So raise them. Raise the way you speak to yourself. Raise the way you spend your time. Raise the way you allow others to engage with you. Raise the quality of your thoughts, your habits, your commitments, not for appearance, for alignment. Because the real flex was never noise. It was never excess. It was never proving anything to anyone. The real flex is living a life so aligned with your standards that peace becomes your default, that clarity becomes your language, that respect becomes your atmosphere. High standards, high frequency, not performance, not ego, just self-respect lived consistently. And once you reach that level, you realize the greatest luxury was never what you could display, but what you finally refused to settle for. And that is the kind of wealth no one can ever take from you. Until next time, peace and love.